Hey everybody, been a while. Pete Branscombe here. Gwen Branscombe here.
Hey, Mom.
Hey, my man. Hey, where is she? Oh, there we go. All right, so I'm going to read a letter here for everybody. Most people will be familiar with this letter, and some of you might not be familiar with it at all. You either think that this is a very powerful letter, or you think it's a complete hoax, or that it's not legitimate, right? It's been questioned, it's been criticized, but it has been around, and it has made the rounds. And regardless of what you think on its authenticity and when it was written, you can't really argue with the accuracy of it. So I'm going to start reading it. The First World War must be brought in order to permit the Illuminati to overthrow the power of the Tsars in Russia and of making that country a fortress of atheistic communism. The divergences caused by the agents of the Illuminati between the British and Germanic empires will be used to foment this war. At the end of the war, communism will be built and used in order to destroy the other governments and in order to weaken the religions. This letter was written in 1871. What happened at the end of the 1800s, before World War One, before the Communist Revolution, Bolshevik takeover of Russia, the destruction of Russian Orthodox, right, getting rid of the Tsars. Before all that, what happened? There was an exile of Bolsheviks, Jews, out of Russia, right? They went back to take their revenge. The Second World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences between the fascists and the political Zionists. Well, these groups didn't exist in 1871, no, but the people that invented them did, right? The people who invented these political movements, modern-day movements, right? They weren't hatched just by one person. No, they were talked about, discussed, and reviewed in secret, right? In order to play out in reality. This war must be, because remember, you gotta understand that. Well, first of all, Peter, this letter is Albert Pike writing to Cardinal Mazzini and Masons and Catholics. They don't have anything to do with each other. Well, there's the P2 Lodge, right? God's banker, guy they found hanging underneath that bridge. They were tied directly with Masons. That's what the P2 Lodge was, Catholic infiltration. All of these secret societies, they all have offshoots from them. And those offshoots, right, usually have some of the same members in them. And those offshoots have offshoots, right? And then so they interconnect with these offshoots, right? You see this web of secret societies, right? So you got all kinds of people involved with these things. And to most of which don't have any idea what they're doing, right? Some do, but very few. It's too big of a plan for everybody to know exactly what's going on, right? There has to be a certain aspect of faith involved in this, right? Just like we have faith in Jesus Christ, right? They also have faith in their God, right? Or who they perceive as God, okay? They may not actually believe they're worshiping Satan. They may not actually be openly worshiping Satan, but they might be. So, the war must be brought about so that Nazism is destroyed and that political Zionism be strong enough to institute a sovereign state of Israel and Palestine. I thought God brought the children of Israel back to the land in 1948. I thought it was God. During the Second World War, international communism must become strong enough in order to balance Christendom, which would be then restrained and held in check until the time when we would need it for the final social cataclysm. Right? Christianity, right, has been eunuch, it's been neutered, it's been put on the shelf, right? Oh, now separation of churches is state, therefore the church has no more authority on any kind of social life, right? We become a secular nation, and look what happens, right? Look what happens when we go secular. It doesn't go from being religious, it goes straight from secular to atheistic and communistic in a very short period of time. It's really crazy how that vacuum works, eh? As soon as you take out the Godhead from your power structure, whew, wait for the vacuum to come and see what gets pulled through. Final social cataclysm, what is that? The Third World War must be fomented by taking advantage of those differences caused by the agentor of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the Islamic world. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam and political Zionism mutually destroy each other. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economic destruction. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provide a formidable social cataclysm which, in all its horror, will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, the origin of savagery, bloody turmoil.
Hear that?
See, we've been fighting endless wars in the Middle East, right, for political Zionism. And the nations have become divided over these wars, right? What is America and the West known as in the Middle East? Like Iran, these places known as what? The Great Satan. But we're like, but we're good people. We're peaceful. We're Christians. Meanwhile, our governments, right, are going out and committing atrocities all over the world, right? Destroying the weak, destroying the poor, stealing resources, stealing countries, right? I mean, Jerusalem itself, Israel, Palestine, right? How big of a contorted issue is that, right? You've got such a division there where it's either you believe that the Palestinians are non-humans and they should be obliterated and all that land should go back to the Jews, or you're the Palestinian, on the Palestinian side, and you think that all those Jews need to be completely wiped out because they shouldn't be there, don't deserve to be there, and they're not the real Jews, right? So we're in a bit of a pickle, right? It's a bit of a burdensome stone, right? This Israel problem, it's a bit of a burdensome stone to the nations. A bit of a cup of trembling. So we're getting to that point, right, where the nihilists and the atheists have been unleashed. The nihilists, these destroyers of civilization, these communists, these ones that want to just completely bring down society whatsoever. See, these people don't want to replace it with anything good and want anything to be repaired and renewed. No, they just want to kill, rape, steal, destroy. Right? They're sons of Belial. Sons and daughters of Belial. Then everywhere the citizens, obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries, will exterminate those destroyers of civilization, and the multitude, disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an ideal but without knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the true light, the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out to the public view. The externalization of the hierarchy. H.P. Blavatsky wrote about this. Okay, the externalization of the hierarchy. It's being externalized that our governments are weak, that our leaders are feckless, that we have corruption, that the sores are putrid. We are walking AIDS as a country, right? We are showing ourselves to be so pathetic that we need to be destroyed. Okay, we deserve to be destroyed. We are calling on our destruction at this point in time as a nation, right? So when you have a situation like this, what good is going to come from it, right? We've gone past that point where unless we dramatically turn this ship around, we're not going to get out of this, right? But now God would have spared Sodom and Gomorrah if there would have been 5 righteous men in that city, but there was not any but Lot and his family. So they were destroyed. Now I know that there are righteous people in our country, and that is the only thing that is keeping God from clearing the board. Okay? And if righteousness is completely removed from this earth, well, you think God's going to hold back his judgment? The only reason why God's not judging the earth is because he still has people doing his work on this earth. Right? So, they're unleashing the nihilists, the atheists, right? This formidable social cataclysm, right? And then everywhere, the citizens, right? The majority of people, right? Obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries. Remember, we always say this, there's more of us than there is of them, isn't there? They're a very small group of these revolutionaries that want to destroy everything, right? It's like, think about Black Lives Matter, for instance, right? You think about that particular population. Well, a minority or is it a majority? It's minority, right? We see all this stuff in the news, right? Well, not on the news, we don't cover it. We see it on the internet, and we see all this destruction of civilization by these destroyers of civilization, and people are getting fed up with it, and eventually people are going to feel obliged to defend themselves against this minority of extremists, because there is in fact more normal people than there is crazy people. Okay? But that has a point to it. That has a point to it because, again, this majority of people, right, they have been waiting for a particular thing to happen, right, to end this destruction so that they don't actually have to get their hands dirty, right? But once this social cataclysm gets to a point where there's no turning back, and it's like, well, we have to do something about this, right? At the end of this, right, those who are disillusioned with Christianity, those who thought maybe, hey, the rapture is going to happen any day and God's going to take the church out of here, but instead we're finding persecution being ramped up, okay? And in that persecution being ramped up, there's going to cause many people to fall, right? Because a lot of people are not ready to endure heavy persecution. I mean, real persecution is right now. This is nothing. We think that this is, something, and that we're being persecuted and that we're living in the end times, but this is nothing compared to what it's going to be like, right? When peace is actually taken from the earth and men rise up against each other to kill each other, right? We're getting there. But so this multitude, right, disillusioned with Christianity, right, whose deistic spirits, right, they have deistic spirits. Remember, founding fathers, what do they say? George Washington and all these guys, they were what? They were deists, right? They clung to Christianity, but they were deists, right? They were unsure about what their final view on everything was, okay? But they're deistic, okay? So their spiritual leaning, these deistic spirits will, from that moment, be without compass or direction, right? They don't know where to turn to. Who do we have an ideal with, an ideology? Where can we render our adoration, right? Because God has put off what He's promised us, right? Christ has not come for us, right? He's left us here, right? We'll receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer. And what's the pure doctrine of Lucifer? Lucifer is light. He's light bearer. That's the pure doctrine of Lucifer. He is the light bearer, bringing the flame, Prometheus, bringing the flame to me, humanity. Right? That's what pure doctrine of Lucifer is, because they don't believe that Lucifer is a fallen being, right? And if they do believe that he's fallen, they believe that he's fallen for you, to bring you the light, to bring you the knowledge. You understand that? Right? Jesus Christ died for your sins, okay, for everybody's sins, so they might believe. But Lucifer's whole thing is that he became the rebel for you. He took on the punishment, right, from God, because he freed humanity from the garden, right, from their imprisonment. And so God forced him to crawl on his belly all of his days, right? He's going to cast him into hell. You see how if you change your mindset, how you think about that, Satan quickly becomes the hero. It's complete inversion. Right? He fell for you. Christ died for you. Right? Buried and resurrected. Satan fell like lightning for you. Right? Because he wants to give you his mark. This manifestation will result from the general reactionary movement, which will follow the destruction of Christianity and atheism, both conquered and exterminated at the same time. Right? Destroying Christianity, destroying atheism at the same time. I've only said that atheists, you're not atheists, you're just waiting. You're just waiting to worship the Antichrist. Right? Because you say, oh, there's no evidence to prove God or that I should believe in Jesus, so I'll just wait for some miracle to be wrought in my sight, some actual tangible evidence. Well, Satan's got some evidence for you, and he's going to deceive you with that evidence.